Peace everybody, Carol here, and I'm so glad to be here. It's beautiful in Vancouver, but it is hot, and since Vancouver, Canada, doesn't really get as hot as, say, Texas, there's a lot of places that don't have air conditioning. And while I like the simplicity of that, it can get really hot. And our condo it's actually an apartment, but I like to call it a condo. It's facing a forest, so all the huge windows everywhere have pure trees everywhere. But we're on the top floor, and the sun beats down, so it gets rather hot. So that's my apology for the fans in the background. And I had a fan over here that I really need, but my rambunctious kitten knocked it over. So if you see a little gray kitten going back and forth, I'm babysitting this kitten. My husband's working in the living room, and he needs some peace and quiet. I figured you wouldn't mind if my kitty ran in the background. Right, Nico? He's in his rambunctious mode. And I have Band-Aids all over me because when you have a kitten, you have scratches. But we love our kitties. For those, today I'm going to talk about a lot of things that I do to calm myself. And if some of you don't know me or you're new to my channel, what I like to do usually is I'm sort of an obsessive researcher, and a point in my life where I do have time, I made time. It took me a long time to arrange my life this way, but I can do research to my heart's content. And I just love the internet. I'm so thankful that I have access to all the research, that's on there. And mostly research on how to make human beings happy and thrive. That's kind of my main passion. And that really includes all aspects. Not only what we think, what we say, our spirituality, our foods, our sleep habits, the light we're exposed to, the clothing we wear. I mean, every facet of our lives has some effect on our happiness level. And some people have to focus more on like light exposure, and other people have to focus more on the sound that they're around. A lot of the Aspies and autistics and indigos and ADDs and ADHDs and the non-neurotypical people I would call as neurodiverse people that are a little bit outside the norm in terms of the curve of the distribution of the various properties of people. We have certain sensitivities. So that's what I'm going to start talking about now, is my personal list of things that make me calm down and get centered again. Like, say, if I come home from a terrible day at work, or the traffic is terrible, and, I'm frazzled, maybe, So I have a few notes here. The first thing that I always like to do is have what's called Tulsi tea nearby. I always have 2 bags in my purse, maybe 3. This plant is grown in the East. I think it's India mainly, where every house in India has a Tulsi plant. They call it holy basil. But somehow when it's made into a tea, my understanding is then they call it Tulsi tea. And holy basil is 2 words, holy and basil. But the Tulsi tea comes in regular tea bags, and I just like the original flavor with nothing added. That way, if you buy Tulsi tea with ginger and you don't like the ginger, you're stuck with a whole tea bag. But you can always add ginger if you want. So plain Tulsi tea, like, let's just say the cat just scratched me, okay? And it's really deep. This was a really deep one, and it really hurts. One of the things that that calms me down is to go somewhere private, like, a restroom, or where I was preparing my cut with a Band-Aid and putting hydrogen peroxide on it. And I just allow myself to cry maybe for 30 seconds. For me, it's really easy to do because it's just there. Now, I can suppress it if I have to. If there's people around, I never do this. But if I'm alone and I have a whole minute, I will always, allow myself to, I kind of let that happen. And for everybody, it's different. I mean, I'm not saying anyone else on the planet can do what I do, but it's just, you let it come up. But for anyone else, if you have any urge to cry, you just learn to let it come up. And man, I'm telling you, that it just makes me, even if it's like 15 seconds of just allowing my diaphragm to, beat, like in, out, and cry, and I'll get a few tears. I just feel so much better. And I was reading an article once that said that tears have a very high, unusually high level of cortisol. And I was like, no wonder crying makes you feel better. Cortisol is a stress hormone. It's like one of the glucocorticoids. And those are the stress hormones, okay? Robert Sapolsky I think he's at the UCLA or one of those California universities. Stanford, that's it. I took a course from him, and he always was talking about glucocorticoids, making us stressed out. Well, if you cry and your tears are high in cortisol, you're purging your body of cortisol, so you're lowering your cortisol. So I'm kind of bouncing around, but that actually is relevant for Tulsi tea, because Tulsi tea, in one or two of the obscure references about it, it's known to reduce cortisol when you drink it. So cortisol and Tulsi tea and crying have that similarity. They both lower the cortisol. So those are very, very good stress reducers. And Tulsi tea is not addicting. It's legal. It's just an herb. It's a food product, and it does help lower cortisol. I'm unaware if there's other teas out there that do the same thing. I know that my favorite tea is a half and half volume mixture of dried lavender flowers and dried chamomile flowers. I like to mix those together and make a tea like at night before bed, and that kind of helps me sleep. But I don't know that that would lower cortisol. It might just kind of make you drowsy. Kind of makes you just drift off to sleep. It's very mild, but I think Aspergers and others, if you're sensitive, 1 cup of that tea would calm you down for sleep. Oh, my kitty is trying to knock my notes down, so I'll move them over. No, Nico, get off my table. Okay. So I talked about Tulsi tea and crying, purging your tears. And then let's talk about matcha tea and green tea in general. Matcha tea is a form of green tea that was not fermented. They pick the green leaves at the very early season, the green leaves at the very top that are like the best. They pick those carefully by hand, and there's documentaries on YouTube. They're fascinating. First they steam it to sterilize it so that it won't ferment, and that's real important to me because then there's no chance of mold. That's why green tea never makes me feel icky, but all the other teas do, and I believe it's because there's mycotoxins from the mold that comes from all fermented foods. I'm not saying that all tea, maybe a very expensive green tea would be fermented properly and that wouldn't have any mold, but just the general green teas and black teas, they may have mold. Same with coffee, same with chocolate. You have to get the really high quality ones to get mold free. And not only is mold toxin, but it's excrement that is formed either in the tea or in your body if you have the mold. That's also very, very toxic. And people that are very sensitive to it may get a headache from it, or I don't know, get in a bad mood, or joint pains, that sort of thing. So back to matcha tea. So you pick the top green leaves. Okay, first they're steamed and then they're dried with warm air, I guess. And then they're wrapped in paper rolls, like burritos, little sections, and then stored in a jar for 6 months. And apparently storing it for 6 months removes the grassy taste so that it's very sweet and pleasant. Those are like the best teas ever. And then they pack it a special way. You can watch that in the documentary. And then you get a green powder. And here's the green powder. You buy it. This is just kind of low-grade green tea. Okay, it's like a powder. Anyway, you put about that much, half a teaspoon or 1 teaspoon in a cup. And us Americans, we like to add our milk, or in my case I add almond milk. You might want to start out with the milk that you like. Like I started out drinking my matcha lattes, which is the green powder tea mixed with, started with soy milk, sweetened with vanilla, and then I got unsweetened with vanilla, and then I just started using plain soy milk, and then I decided, okay, I'm going to quit soy milk because I think it's making me not have good health. And so I quit soy milk and changed to almond milk, which doesn't taste as good, but I'm getting used to it, and I feel much better. And I can still have my green tea. Now, the point about green tea, whether it's fermented green tea or regular green tea or matcha green tea, is but it has something in it called theanine. Theanine is very much higher levels in the high quality green tea as I described, and that is what makes it so prized in some of the various cultures around the world, especially in Japan and China. It's highly prized, like by the Zen monks, for example. Why is that? Because theanine makes you very calm and relaxed while remaining alert. Now, how many of us want that? We all want to be calm and alert at the same time. Most things like coffee make you alert but not calm. You have the jitters. But green tea, on the other hand, whether it's, any kind of green tea, makes you calm and alert at the same time without being drowsy. So people that learn this and start experimenting with green tea pretty much love it, because they love that it does that. Unfortunately, some processes destroy most of the theanine, so you can buy theanine pills. And I bought some theanine pills. It's like a powder in a capsule. It's white powder. And when you sprinkle it in your low-quality matcha, which is, this is kind of low quality because I don't have a ton of money for the expensive stuff, then I just add the theanine back in. I'm cheating, but at least, knowledge is power, and so I know to do that. It actually makes it taste better, too. It kind of makes it taste, I'm going to say sweeter. It's kind of a savory. I think the Japanese call it umami. It's a certain flavor that we don't have that in our Western language, but it's one of the tastes. So anyway, that's what the theanine powder does. So I add the theanine powder to my matcha tea, and I kind of drink it like for breakfast, and then maybe either after lunch or as an afternoon refresher. But I never drink green tea or eat chocolate after around 3 p.m. to ensure that I have real deep, uninterrupted sleep. And now that I've mentioned sleep, I would like to segue into the benefits of sleep for healing any upset. So if I'm obsessing about anything, it's usually because something happened during the day that has to do with the person and the way they treated me, or did I mess up, or what happened there, or, it's always about that I think for most Aspies. It's always about some personal thing with another person. It's a cultural clash, and we all want to do good. We all try to be nice, and somehow it just never seems to work because we're so different. Like our eye might go the wrong way, and then they misinterpret it. They think we're lying because we looked somewhere while we're talking to them, and it's like totally, we're so differently wired. So we're misinterpreted a lot. It causes us to be upset. What can I say? So I did a lot of research on sleep, and I should probably do a whole nother video on that, how to get good sleep. But if you do study sleep and get really good sleep, 8 hours a night, then I guarantee when you wake up, your problems will seem not very big anymore. You'll be over it. It's like your brain processes it. If you get good sleep, your brain does it all for you. It processes all the things that happened, and you wake up and you feel better. And everybody knows that. You sleep on it, Even if you can take a 30-minute nap, maybe if you did a meditation or went out in nature, that would also help calm you. Any other things I do for calming? Yogananda had given an exercise. Yogananda is a famous yoga teacher that lived mostly in the 19th century. 20th century, yeah, last century. And I'm sure you've heard of him. But he has an exercise where he teaches a way to go, what he's teaching is how to increase your alpha brain waves, which are a calming state. And after this, my next project is to record a little bit more in-depth video on how to increase your alpha brain waves and why that's a good thing. But for now, the exercise is to breathe in to a count of 5, or you can design it to where however you want to do it. It's your own call as to how you want to do it. But like I'll do the exercise and breathe in to a certain count. Like I'll probably try to do 5, and then you hold for 5, and then you exhale for 5, and then you hold it out for 5. And however you decide to design this exercise for yourself, you can, because you have that freedom to count to whatever number is meaningful to you and how fast you want to count. What you're doing is you're consciously regulating your biophysiology so that you provide a constant flow of very good levels of oxygen into your blood, and that it helps you remove carbon dioxide, which is a stressor. It's an acidic stressor to your blood, and if you have sometimes that can make you feel very shallow breath and fight or flight. But if you can purge that carbon dioxide by breathing deeply and then replenish it with good fresh oxygen, that makes your whole physiology calm down, and it stimulates your parasympathetic nervous system, which is the calming. And you want to do things, see, all these things I'm saying are going to stimulate that parasympathetic nervous system. There's two nervous systems, the sympathetic, that's the stress and active, and then there's the parasympathetic. And a lot of us sensitive people are always in the sympathetic, and we're always stressed, and it's chronic, and we need to always have tools that we can activate the parasympathetic. So when I breathe in, I'm going to count. Hold. Exhale. Hold. Okay, and then I'll repeat. I'm not going to use my fingers anymore, but I'm holding. Exhale. And hold. And then you just do that over and over, maybe for a whole minute. And what I like to do to keep myself focused on the task, because my mind tends to wander and problem solve, is that as I do the breathing exercise, then I start introducing little things, and you can, of course, design your own exercise. I'll breathe in things like, when I exhale, I think of gratitude. And when I hold it, I think of hugging my kitty. And when I exhale, I think of giving love to the world. And then when I exhale and hold it out, I don't know, I think of just cleansing my body of black smoke, and all the black smoke just blows out of my body. You know, change it. I change it every time I do it, but that's just the one I thought of now. And it's kind of cool. You know, I mean, it's helping your mind stay on task. Okay, so that was the breathing exercise. I have a pet now, and this little kitty cat is asleep finally. See? It's a Sphinx kitten. He does a good boy. He does a good boy. Yes. He's just so calming when he sleeps in your tummy, or when I play with him, or when I hold him on my shoulder and walk around the house. I mean, it just makes me so happy. And without a kitty, you know, I just didn't have those moments. And so that's one thing you can do. And then go out in nature whenever you can. I'm on the 4th floor of this apartment, and so it's kind of hard to go outside, but we do have a little balcony, so I can go out in the balcony and just be faced with a wall of tall trees that are, I would say, about 7 to 8 stories tall. And it's kind of amazing how tall those trees are, you know. I don't know if you can see that, but that's my way of staying out of nature, is to have a good view out my window. I'll always have to work by a window, or else I just can't work. I mean, that's just the way I am. I'm sort of a nature addict. I think we all are, really. We just don't know it. All humans are nature addicts, but if you leave nature and it's not part of your life, you don't know why you're not happy. You're just unhappy. I think if you take any person that's depressed and allow them to stay in nature for a long time, like a week, I bet you they'll feel a lot better. And they'll think, why was I depressed? I don't remember anymore. And they'll just feel, they'll feel good that they're out in nature. I don't know, that's my hunch, okay? I've never proven that. Some places, CBD, which is a cannabinoid, is legal, and you could use that to medicate yourself to be calmer. I know a lot of people use it for their pets for pain, and I'm not advocating anything other than look into it for yourself. Make sure that it's legal where you live. CBD is a cannabinoid that reacts with the receptors of your body, not necessarily your mind. So it's not psychoactive or anything, but a lot of migraine people, it's been shown scientifically that they have a deficiency of the natural endocannabinoids in their body. And so when those individuals are given cannabinoids from outside, which such as CBD, for example, it helps with pain, and it helps relax the shoulders, and it helps, or wherever you hold your stress, and it also does calm you. You know, so like if you're driving in heavy traffic, it might help calm you so that you can function better and not always be like shoulders tense, shallow breathing, you know, that terrible feeling that we all seem to find ourselves in this chaotic world. So CBD is another thing. And then and then for me, like, I'll share a few personal things that I do. One of my obsessions is Zen and anything Japanese. I know a lot of us have that because it's such a beautiful culture, and all cultures are beautiful, you know, but for some reason I just resonate with that. Maybe I used to be a Zen monk or something, and I discovered Zen in graduate school, and then over the years there's certain things that I love, and the Japanese tea ceremony, it just makes me feel happy when I watch one, or you know, there's some on YouTube videos, and I do one every day, and if I really feel like deprived or just not, like, why am I alive again? I forgot, you know, like just a bad mood or something, and I take the time to do a little Zen tea ceremony where I lay out all my favorite items on a tray, all my tea items. I'll just show you here. I have a little Zen tea ceremony laid out. It's not fancy or anything, but it works for me. Okay, see? It works for me. And I usually come here by the window and slowly and mindfully prepare my tea and slowly drink it. And not only does the tea, you know, help you be alert and relaxed, but just the whole process of taking that time for myself to have a little tea ceremony with me and my kitty cat. It's just magical. And I hope that you have something that you like to do. I have another friend who, her favorite thing to do is build fairy gardens. And I know that sounds weird if you don't know what it is, but when you look at her fairy garden, it's like you can build them, a lot of people build them in tubs, you know, like a big tub, and it's filled with dirt, and you have moss on it, and plants that look like miniature trees, and then kind of hidden in there you put little fairy statues and little houses, and it's just like amazing. And she's like a grown-up adult, and she does this hobby, and it's really an art, and she just gets this internal joy, like almost like being a kid again, you know. And when my little girl was growing up, we would play Barbies together, and that was a real relaxing thing to do because it reminded me of my own childhood, playing with dolls. I don't do that anymore, though. I can't do it alone. I have to do it with a little girl. So my little girl's grown up. Maybe one day I'll have a granddaughter or something. I can do that. But then I'm just going to end by saying that the most important thing you can do for your calming yourself is to make a little list. And what I do is I have a little business card. Anyway, back of the business card is all white, and you write your 10 items on there, real little, of all the things that you can do to calm down. Like mine would say, cry, go out in nature, Tulsi tea, and then I'll say, I'll list my favorite TV show, like it might be Cosmos, you know, that. No, I meant to say Contact, not Cosmos. That's always a good inspirational show for me personally. My phone ran out of memory, but I was just saying that my list that I would always keep in my wallet would say, remind me to do the things that I talked about today. And maybe you would have a list in your wallet just a small little piece of paper with little keywords that remind you of the things that calm you down. And like, I'll just, every time I think of my list, it turns out to be a different list, but for the most part, most of the main ones are always on there. You know, I have to watch Contact, the movie, and that always makes me feel good and inspired. If I just watched it and I need something else, you know, Harry Potter, of course. Especially the first one. The first Harry Potter, that scene where he makes the glass disappear at the zoo and his cousin Dudley falls into the snake pit. And then the snake comes out and says thanks and goes off. And then that look on his uncle's face when he sees Harry laughing. Oh my God, that's just like so funny. If I could watch that like in endless loop and just always laugh. And I have a few other things that really make me laugh, like videos and stuff that I've saved. So my laughing video list, that would be a good thing. Then of course the Tulsi tea, the matcha tea, my Japanese tea ceremony, and always going out in nature or even sitting by a window, especially if I can be alone or in a quiet place. And if I had one thing for myself, it would be earplugs. That always calms me down no matter where I am, because when it's silent or near silent, for some reason that just lessens most of the stress on me. That's probably my number one stressor, is the sounds. That a lot of people can't hear the fluorescent hum, and I can, and it makes me crazy. And they can't hear what I hear, like when I hear someone laugh and they kind of, it's like a male forceful laugh, like a power laugh, where, you know, someone says a joke and this guy wants to laugh at the boss, and so he laughs real loud, you know. It's like, oh my God, it hurts my ears so bad. It's hard to hide that, you know, because you don't want to be sitting next to a colleague and all of a sudden have to put your fingers in your ears. You can't do that. So that loud noise causes physical pain, and it's kind of like deep down in the head, that physical pain. Oh my God, that's so stressful. So that's why I wish I could have earplugs that I could have variable volume on them. Wish that existed. Anyway, getting a pet. So I would really love it if any of you ever think of something else that you think others would benefit from your idea of things that calm you down. Please comment, and I would be most grateful, because I'm always looking for new ways to make my life better, and little simple solutions like a pair of earbuds. I always have it in my purse at all times. That's just like really changed my life. And it actually took me a few years to finally just commit to always having them. But once I committed, once I accepted that I was different and said, you know what, I'm going to embrace this. I'm not going to deny it anymore. I'm going to embrace it. And I'm going to say, you know what, this world is harsh. I'm going to have a little safety pack, you know, and I have my Tulsi tea in there, I have my earbuds, and I have my chocolate. That makes me happy. You know, and I always have, you know, a journal to write in. It's just another thing I always, if I can be alone in nature, if I don't have my journal, I get stressed, because I love to write down my ideas. Well, I suppose I've been yapping for a long, long time now, so I will say peace, everybody. Thank you for watching, and please share your thoughts on what calms you down. And even if you have a list of 100 things, I would read them all. I would love to know. So thank you, and until next time. My next video, by the way, is going to be, stay tuned for that, meditation, alpha brainwaves, why we need them, why especially Aspies need them, and here's how you can increase your alpha brainwaves. So stay tuned for that, and until then, peace. Bye.